Well, I've had to come out 3 times. First as being gay, second as being a drag queen, and third as being an activist, as a cannabis activist. Now, when it comes to cannabis, why does the stigma still exist? Well, because we haven't done enough education. We haven't done enough research. There haven't been enough individuals such as myself to come forward and really change the name. It's never been seen as what it truly is, which is a plant that was put on earth by God to help us.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Different Leaf, the podcast. I'm Britt Smith, finally toking on my own homegrown green. That's right, my first ever homegrown plants are ready to be inhaled, and they are looking pretty glorious. You can go and check them out on my Instagram at BritTheBritish. Today, we're going to be talking about how and why celebrities of all kinds are getting into the cannabis industry and how that branding is impacting us as consumers. From the people you'd expect, like Snoop Dogg or Cheech and Chong, to the more surprising names like Martha Stewart or the famously sober Gene Simmons, there are a lot of people right now trying to sell us cannabis-related products. But is there actually any substance to that star power? How do we know who's promoting the good products and who's just in it for the money? And are social media channels really a sustainable way to brand marijuana? If you've got the most recent issue of Different Leaf, the magazine on hand, you can flip to page 22 and see this week's guest. Dallas-born drag queen, choreographer, performer, cannabis advocate, and social media influencer, Jay Jackson, also known as Laganja Estranja. You might know Laganja from season 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race, So You Think You Can Dance, America's Got Talent, Bon Appetit, or Skin Wars, just to name a few.
I do. My name is Miss Estranja, honey darling. Oh,
As a genuine advocate for medical marijuana, Laganja has become one of the best-known celebrity cannabis personas in the world. In 2017, she also became the first LGBTQ+ person to appear on the cover of cannabis magazines when she was featured on the covers of Dope and High Times. Joining us a little later in the episode is Avital Norman Nathman. She's the writer behind Different Leaf's article on why Laganja and a host of other celebrities, from the Grateful Dead to the Drop Dead Gorgeous, are getting involved in cannabis. Thank you for joining me, Miss Laganja Estranja. So where are you from? Tell me where you started. What are your roots?
So I'm originally from Dallas, Texas. I grew up in the South, which I'm very proud of as a now Los Angeline. I definitely grew up with good morals. My parents were incredibly supportive of my artistic endeavors, put me in musical theater camp at a very young age once I realized that sports was not going to be my thing. So I was very lucky in the fact that my parents allowed me to explore the creative arts.
Obviously, there's a big difference between what you had in Texas and what you have in California when it relates to drag and drugs. So now that you're out in California and you have this persona that's centered around your appreciation for the cannabis plant, how do you feel like it kind of compared to the cannabis culture in Texas?
Well, I definitely grew up thinking that cannabis was the devil's lettuce, that it was, really bad. It was not something that would be conductive to creating good work or being active. So I definitely grew up with a negative perception of the plant. Mm-hmm. I did explore the beginning stages of cannabis smoking when I was in Texas. Of course, the medicine that I had capabilities to get were much less than what you find out here in California. We called it swag. So it was brickweed that came in from Mexico that was packed, jam-packed. It had seeds. So very low-grade cannabis. But at the time, as someone who was just starting out, that was perfect for me. I did not need the high-powered medicine that I can now get out here in California. But obviously, moving to California, being around Proposition 215 or the Compassionate Act, which I'm very proud to say that the LGBTQAI+ community created, which is what gave us medical cannabis here in California, I began to change my stigma of what I thought of the plant. And when I got injured in a dance piece my junior year, I began seeing a chiropractor who actually suggested that I medicate with cannabis for my pain.
Oh, cool.
So that was the first time that I realized that cannabis was medicine. I had been getting all of the medical benefits from it before, using it recreationally and creatively as an artist. but I did never realize the medical benefits. So that's when I started taking it serious. And I think that's when I chose the name Laganja, and I really decided that this was going to be a platform and something that I would want to spread to others so they too could potentially fix whatever was wrong with them like I had.
I wanted to ask you a little bit about your name. So obviously these two things happened at the same time in your life, where you got into drag at the same time as you were realizing that cannabis was big for you.
Yes.
What did you want to say with this persona?
Well, I had no idea what I was in for. If people had told me one day that people would be bringing joints to me in a meet and greet, I'd be like, you're crazy. So I did not create this so that I could get free weed. I mean, it's been a wonderful benefit of being Laganja Estranja, but that was never the intention. The intention, as I said, was just to spread the education that unfortunately I did not receive, and to really show people what a successful stoner looks like and how the integration of that medicine is not only crucial to my artwork, but improves my artwork.
That's a great point. There's already a major stigma of drag, and then to make your drag persona a cannabis flavored persona, like you're putting yourself out there twice as hard, you know?
Well, I've had to come out 3 times. First as being gay, second as being a drag queen, and third as being an activist, as a cannabis activist. So it's been one of those things that every time I open one of those closets, it's a lot easier for me. I mean, at this point, it's 2020. I feel like we live in a day and age where you can truly be who you want to be and surround yourself with people who will understand that. Now, I'm not saying that doesn't come with difficulties and problems. Of course it does. But for the most part, I carry myself with confidence. I am not worried. I do not fear for my life. Luckily, I do live in a country where being gay isn't illegal and we aren't stoned to death, where we're seeing that still around the world. So my fear is very little. And that's a privilege that I have. And that's why I try to take that privilege and give it to others and show other people that you too can live open and honest about what it is you do. Now, when it comes to cannabis, why does the stigma still exist? Well, because we haven't done enough education. We haven't done enough research. There haven't been enough individuals such as myself to come forward and really change the name. We've seen it in our pop culture for many years, but it's been a joke. It's been a dirty secret. It's been a hip hop reference. It's never been seen as what it truly is, which is a plant that was put on earth by God to help us. Period. I mean, whether you believe in God or for like me, GAWD, there's something on this earth that is, I believe, here for us, spiritually, individually. And I believe this plant was put on this earth for a reason, and that was to heal. And until we really get that message out, we're not going to be able to change the stigma. And I think there's many reasons why we don't change it. Most importantly, it's going to really affect the pharmaceutical industry, which is a multi-trillion-dollar business. Now, that's not to say cannabis couldn't be. We've seen in Colorado, here in California, within the couple of years that we've gone recreational, huge influxes of money. So I think it's still possible. But I just think in order to really shift the idea of what it is to be a stoner, it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of big businesses who have the potential of losing money coming forward and saying, no, this is good. We need this. This could also be running our cars. We could have, hemp oil running our cars. I mean, there's so many things that this plant could provide. And I think that's why it's been kept a secret for so long.
To me, it just seems like there's not that many LGBTQ people in the cannabis arena who like to speak out like you do about it. Do you have anybody else that's like your cannabis bud?
I will disagree with you. Yes, I think there are plenty of LGBT people out there trying to spread this message, but unfortunately, those in the place in which to amplify those voices are not. So that's the real issue here. Is it's not that there aren't people out there. There are. It's unfortunately the people in power who are not taking those voices and showing that. I don't want to name the company, but I've worked with the company for a very long time. This Pride Month, they were supposed to do a big campaign with me. Now, obviously, this Pride Month was very different than most Pride Months, with the center of BLM basically, happening at that exact same time. So I do think it was very important that companies stop, check in with their messaging, and recognize that moment. However, I think what they missed in that was that all Black lives matter. And the queer and trans Black lives are the reason gay people, A, have rights, and B, again, directly ties into cannabis. So I wished, while they took a moment to pause and amplify BLM, they would have specifically chosen trans and gay Black brothers and sisters, because I feel like there is a huge lack of that. Just recently in Hollywood, 3 trans people of color were attacked. It's been all over Instagram. And so it's like, this is still happening every day. And it's just something to me that I think is really important. And I wish that more cannabis companies would get involved in a real way. It's great to slap a rainbow on your product and donate to the Trevor Project for 1 month during June. But that's not enough. You need to be hiring a diverse staff. You need to be employing different influencers of different backgrounds to be representing your company. And if that's not something that's important to you, well, then I'm not interested in you.
Right.
And that's really my job now as an influencer, to be looking at these companies and not only making sure that their product is great, but that their messaging and that their morals are also lining up.
Right. Actually, that is a great segue to bring in one of our very special guests. So we're going to take a quick break and we will be right back. It might be a little hard to pass the bong right now, but if you're enjoying Different Leaf, the podcast, you can still share the love. We're on Facebook and Instagram at Different Leaf, and we're on Twitter at Different_Leaf. Okay, that's it. Back to the show. So, Avital, thank you so much for joining us. So you've been writing about cannabis branding for a while now. What have you seen has changed over the years about how cannabis companies and celebrities are starting to work together?
So what's interesting for me is, like anyone in the writing world, you get pitches for products all the time, to try products, review products. And so it's been interesting to see this trend in cannabis over the last few years, with celebrities getting involved to try and boost sales for a variety of reasons, whether they want to, the companies want the celebrities to boost their sales, whether the celebrities are genuinely interested and invested in cannabis and are connecting with companies at that level. And it's very easy to tell the difference, right? When I spoke with Laganja, we really got into it and talking about how they choose the products and the companies and the ethos behind it. And you don't see that with everybody. Some people just slap their name on. It's just like a brand, like they put on bottled water or face wash or whatever. It's just something else within their empire. And you can tell the difference. And maybe that flies with things like sneakers or, hair care products. But when it comes to cannabis, which a lot of people use medicinally, I think there needs to be a lot more focus on who's promoting the product and kind of the history behind it and how they got involved. And so, I think there are people you can see, like Belushi Farms up in, I want to say, Oregon. Like, you can see him on his Instagram living the life, being a farmer on his farm. This isn't just like something he swoops in for a company.
So that's a really interesting point. There are some celebrities who really live this life. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to legal cannabis, they're like, this is my thing. I really care about this. And I want to get in with a company. I care about who the company is. I care about their ethics, what they stand for. And those folks, they're the people that you said in your article make sense. So right. like Laganja, like Snoop Dogg, like Jerry Garcia.
The expected ones, Willie Nelson.
Yeah. And then there are some of them that you're like, hello, what are you doing here? You see green and
they see green.
And you see green,
like
yeah.
Green. Yeah, and not to gatekeep. And I don't think anyone should be gatekeepers in that sense. And I think people are savvy, right? For the most part, consumers are savvy, and they can tell when somebody is just putting their name or face on a package. And you can also tell by the product, right? Like, we also talked about the quality of the product, how it's grown, what's used in terms of like pesticides or not pesticides, indoor, outdoor. Do they know strains? Do they know indica versus sativa? When we're talking edibles, do they understand ratios? Do they understand what CBD is and how that's intertwined for a lot of people? And so, like, someone like Whoopi Goldberg, right? She's no longer with her Whoopi and Maya line.
She's not?
No. Oh, it was a whole thing. Mm-mm.
Well, that is a shame, because Maya is one of the most incredible women I've ever met in the industry. The reason I am actually still in this industry is because of women like her who have opened their arms, made sure I feel comfortable in spaces where I did previously not. And gosh, that breaks my heart, because, that was Maya's company.
Yeah, there was some behind the scenes stuff. But someone like Whoopi, who's been vocal and open about it, not even open about her own company, but just talking about her use of it, and never said like, oh, and plus I've got this great company where you can get some cannabis infused bath salts or lotion or whatever. And I think it's those people where you can tell the difference,
Right. Feels like a genuine connection with a product or not. And that's what I care about in my product. That's what I care about even with the people that own the dispensary that I'll go to.
Right. And I think it extends to that